Hello and welcome back to the Nasty Metal Production channel YouTube, and welcome to another Wednesday Special Monday review. Today I am reviewing, wow, surprisingly this is probably one of the rare bands you'll ever see me review on this channel, but that is the newest studio album from one of the, I don't know how to kind of what to summon up these guys, but they definitely had a huge following. That's of course due to vocalist Mike Patton over the years, but that is the new studio album from Mr. Bungle. That is their re-recording of their very first demo, which originally was released in 1986. That is The Raging Wrath of the Easter Bunny demo, which was released through, of course, Mike Patton's own label, Ipecac Recordings. I don't know if that's the best way to pronounce it. It might be. But this was released on October 30th. So, to be quite honest, I'm not going to do a complete rundown of Mr. Bungle to begin with. I'm not going to go into a lot of the history again. Obviously, given that their very first demo, this being a re-recording of, was released in 1986, that should give you an idea of when they were formed. And I'll get to more of the backstory of the whole Raging Wrath of the Easter Bunny demo and comparisons and so on in the review. The only thing that needs to be said is that only 3 of the original members, besides Mike Patton, at least are on this re-recording of it, again being Mike Patton, Trevor Dunn, and Dre Spruance. The only 2 members that are newer to this, that were never on the original, of course, is Scott Ian and Dave Lombardo. And Dave Lombardo has done plenty of work with Mike Patton, one for, like, what's it, Fatumas? I don't know, I might have fucked up that name, and Dead Cross. Though this is the first time Scott Ian has worked with Mike Patton in an interview. Apparently he's been a fan of Mr. Bungle's material. So that definitely says quite a bit there. So without further ado, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into my review of The Raging Wrath of the Easter Bunny demo from Mr. Bungle. Okay, so before I really get into any of my thoughts on this album, let's do a track listing rundown. We got about 11 songs here, and it all clocks in at 56 minutes and 27 seconds. So, these 11 songs are Grizzly Adams, which is the sole instrumental on this album, Anarchy Up Your Anus, Raping Your Mind, Hypocrites / Habla Español o Mire, which actually is Spanish for Speak Spanish or Die, which is definitely a play on Speak English or Die, which is definitely their cover of the SOD classic. Bungle Grind, Mathematics, A Racist, Spreading the Thighs of Death, Lost for Words, which is a Corrosion of Conformity cover, Glutton for Punishment, and then finally Sudden Death. So there's your 11 songs here. Oh boy, where do I really start with this? I will definitely go off the cuff here and say that while I definitely never minded Mike Patton's work to begin with, I will definitely go on record and say that I definitely enjoyed, and I've got a soft spot for it, but The Real Thing from Faith No More. That was really the only thing of Mike Patton's work that I was ever familiar with, and again, I got a soft spot for that album. But anything past that, I'm not completely familiar with, other than I think, oh god, there was a song off, I think, the follow-up Faith No More album that after The Real Thing. I can't remember the song of it. It wasn't epic, but remember when, and of course, I was a video gamer back in the day, back in the mid-2000s, and it was Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. I can't remember what song that was used on one of the fake radio stations. But it was obviously a Faith No More song. I can't remember the name for the life of me, but it's a song off the album that followed The Real Thing. But that's all the work that I was ever familiar with, at least that I ever remember listening to a lot from Mike Patton. But I was definitely fully aware of Mr. Bungle. That was mostly a band that my brother was into, and given that how differently their styles were. I mean, from Faith No More being more of the funk kind of metal spectrum, Mr. Bungle, on the other hand, were totally a different band. They definitely were very experimental, and that was definitely more of my brother's speed. And it was something that I might have checked out one or maybe two songs off the very first Mr. Bungle album, which I'll, again, since I'm on the Metal Archives, let me kind of pull up there, which again, it was actually just self-titled. I was thinking I had a different title, but it's self-titled. But that whole artwork was burned into my brain, but I never ever cared to check it out. Maybe I was just too afraid of what the hell I was gonna get into. So I pretty much had avoided Mr. Bungle for years. Again, I was more of a metal slash rock kind of guy. My favorite bands, again, were like AC/DC, Judas Priest, and Motorhead, and Saxon, and Merciful Fate, and Accept, and those kind of bands. And even I liked, again, when it came to thrash metal, I definitely dug Exodus, Megadeth, Anthrax, of course, Scott Ian, for reference there. And I was, again, Testament and those, I just was more into that than really, so in many ways, I had kind of a closed mind a little bit. I wasn't branching out too often to more different genres. But something about Mr. Bungle didn't completely seem to be that kind of band that I would have wanted to really check out. But I had heard for years that the very first demo that they ever released, being The Raging Wrath of the Easter Bunny, I heard for years that was more of a metal release. That was definitely more, I've heard people claim it as being death metal. And of course, many people also calling it thrash metal, which is probably more properly. And crossover, whatever, it was, I just heard for years that it was their more thrash metal release. But I never cared to go back and really actually care to check into it, which I probably should had. I really should had. So when it came to news that Scott Ian and Dave Lombardo were going to be on board and were going to help out the three original members of Mr. Bungle, again, Mike Patton, Trevor Dunn, and Trey Spruance, to re-record their demo, which again, they have, I think it's been stated that they were very happy with the original demo recording. It was originally recorded on a 4-track tape recorder, and obviously you can tell what the results were. And I'll definitely get into that. Here real quick. And I think that's one of the main reasons why I never cared to. And even though nowadays, when it came to, of course, checking out sites like Lockjaw and so on, obviously I've can handle the more raw demo, the more really obscure demo metal recordings from that period in the 1980s. Because I've heard some rough fucking demo recordings, so it wasn't really all that much. Of course, nowadays, if you go onto YouTube, many people have done their best on actually cleaning up the original demo recording of that release. And the results were interesting. I'll just say, once again, I'll get into some of this. Still, they were going to help them out, and then finally, when it got released, which, again, it was like, okay, cool. But then when I heard the song Raping Your Mind, I was like, okay, I need to check this out. So I asked my brother to bring up his copy so I can at least listen to this. Because I wasn't very much set on, or at least dead set on buying my own copy of the album. So I wasn't very much dead set. So I just want to at least listen to his copy so I can at least listen to it and so on, and try and very much dive into it and get a good listening experience of that album. But I didn't know that he was going to get me my own copy of it. At least apparently he had ordered 2 copies, and one of them obviously went to me. So I was more than just thankful for him giving me my own copy. So it made it more, I guess in many ways, more easier to really take my time on actually just diving it instead of just in one night, and basically. So it really seemed, it was really cool. So finally when it came to time when trying to put this review together, I opened up my copy of it, which again, you've seen my copy. It's the standard digipack release of it. So I opened it up and put the disc in, and after I was done listening to it the following day, of course I was planning on going back to listening to the original demo to to try and make a more proper review, to again in terms of a comparison on how different this is from this version to the original demo. So I went back and listened to the demo, and I gave that at least 2 listens, because again, I tried to find again the best possible or at least the best possible sounding version of this demo. And even how many times I think people have done to clean up this recording, doing fan-made remasters and so on. Oh my god. From going back and forth, I really have to say, I pretty much have to prefer this new recording of this demo over the original 1986 version. I have to. I mean, it's not all that different in terms of the spirit of the original demo, but the recording quality is more crisper, but in many ways, it also ends up sounding goddamn fucking punishing. This crushes the original demo. Hands down, this is for sure an improvement, a vast improvement over the original demo. Oh my god. And as far as what was left from the original demo, there's at least 6 songs that at least from the original demo that made it onto the re-recording. Basically them nicking Evil Satan, which obviously I understand why after listening to the original demo, because of it obviously, given how experimental Mr. Bungle became over time, when you listen to that track, it gave you more of a hint of what they were going to do later on. So in many ways, it was understandable for why they left off Evil Saint off here, because again, it would have not fit with the oral thrash metal assault of this album. It would have not fit in. But in its replace, they again added in 3 newer recordings, which apparently had been on the table since that original release, but because of, I guess, the time restraint, they weren't able probably to even tack in the 3 songs on there, which they being Mathematics, Erasis, and Glutton for Punishment. So those being the 3 newer songs that replaced Evil Saint, and of course, again, adding in their cover of Lost for Words from Corrosion of Conformity, which is a great cover, by the way. I don't know which version I prefer, the original Corrosion of Conformity version or this version, because they both are fucking great. I think Mr. Bungle did a great job covering this classic Corrosion of Conformity song, because again, I own the album Animosity. So I've spent years listening to that album. So hearing their version is great. I think, again, also, Mike Patton does a great job doing the vocals for this song. Same goes for Hypocrites, which, again, this is another one. They definitely changed up Hypocrites because of, originally, even though it's the same time length, the original for Hypocrites was actually maybe a little bit longer. Again, on the original demo, it clocked in at 3 minutes and 4 seconds. But on this version, because since they tack in their spiced up version of the classic Stormtroopers of Death song, Speak English or Die, it got Again, the length kind of bumped up to at least 3 minutes and 43 seconds. So, again, just a little bit longer compared to the original version. I think it was a great idea what they did. Because basically, they cut out the rest of the La Cucaracha part of the original version. Again, after they go into that, which only lasts like maybe 50 seconds or so before they go into their own version of the Stormtroopers of Death song, and they do a fantastic job. Though it is interesting not hearing Billy Milano on this, but at the same time, it's still Scott Ian. And again, of course, Dave Lombardo, gotta give some credit to him. He does a great job filling in Charlie Benante's role on that song too. Again, two great fucking drummers. Again, both Slayer fame and Anthrax fame, both great. So I think that they did a great improvement over the original version of Hypocrites. It just sounds great on here. But there's just so many good tracks on here. I mean, just from the opening, very brooding and ominous instrumental that is Grizzly Adams, which again, it's left samey, it's left similar, but it just, again, the recording quality and so on, and just the more, oh god, the ripping guitar tone, that it just sounds like a goddamn razor. Holy shit, they did a fantastic job. And again, the way it just sounds in the whole beginning, I mean, yeah, it can be long, but it makes sense. Because again, it's like building up. It's preparing you for the oral assault that you're just going to be given unleashed. Your ears pretty much are going to get absolutely raped by the whole sounds, like the chainsaw guitars and everything. It's just really building up the suspense, and oh my god. Again, after we get into from Grizzly Adams to the Anarchy Up Your Anus, holy shit. I mean, it starts off same. I think they kept in the same female spoken word intro, which I don't know what Haunted House have to do with getting your anus ripped up. I don't know what the fuck that. Even though I think that when you're when reading the lyrics for Anarchy Up Your Anus, it almost seems like that this could have been summed up by Paul Bailoff of Exodus. The late Paul Bailoff, because of it's very much, again, it's almost an anti-poser thing. Again, keeping it in with the continuity of the 1980s thrash metal scene, with again how they definitely saw the glam metal movement and so on, and the whole hair metal stuff. So in many ways, that's kind of what Anarchy Up Your Anus is. It's basically their anti poser type of thrash song. So that's kind of what it is. But it's just, again, from that again very moshing intro to the absolute fucking ripping guitar riff that is just absolutely thrashes hard. And then finally getting into, of course, to Raping Your Mind. This, you've already are in for a goddamn ride. This is just, there's just so many good fucking tracks to me on this album. I don't think I've ever heard a thrash metal release that has ever really done great of recapturing the youth, the immaturity of the past, basically just the overall feel of some of the best debut thrash metal albums. But my god, goddamn, the crushing riffs, the blistering speed and the aggression, and again, also some of the punk influences. Another one that definitely added to the aura of some of those early thrash metal debut albums, especially Kill 'Em All and Show No Mercy, and even like Spreading the Disease, or for even Fistful of Metal, was, again, some of that punk influence was kind of always had a way of creeping into that. And even Bonded by Blood from Exodus, those punk influences were an integral part of the early thrash metal stuff. And so hearing some of these stuff again, like Mathematics and Erase It, which is a catchy as fuck song. That's probably the closest to more like an Anthrax style song. Again, it wouldn't be too far off on an album like Among the Living or State of Euphoria. At times, maybe for example, maybe Spreading the Disease. It's not that far off. It's got that cool, again, it starts off again with that very again moshing, almost a very hooky guitar riff and structuring, again, but by the guitar, so it does speed up into a great blistering thrash metal track. It's just, oh my god, it's a good song. Again, it's catchy as all hell. I love that song. Still though, it's those punk influences that really added in to the charm of some of the earlier thrash metal material. And I think this album really, I think, did a good way of recapturing it. Another one, and before I really end a lot of my review in here, I mean, I can go on and on about some of the songs in here, but goddamn, there's just plenty of fucking good songs on this album. Still though, another one I have to definitely give kudos to is Dave Lombardo. I don't think he has ever sounded this fucking great since probably Seasons in the Abyss from Slayer. I don't think he's ever sounded this fantastic on an album. I mean, when he came back with Slayer for like Christ Illusion, then World Painted Blood being the final album with them before obviously they decided to ditch him after Jeff Hanneman died. Still, those two albums, I think he was lacking a little bit. Here, he sounds obviously like how, it's like, again, he drank from the fountain of youth. He really sounds the best he has ever sounded in a long fucking time to my ears. Again, I've never kept up with this material that he had done with Mike Patton, so I'm not very, at least in some ways, I think I'm a little bit biased. But goddamn, he just sounds fantastic on this album. He's just in tip-top shape. He obviously, you can tell he hasn't lost a beat. And as far as Scott Ian, this is probably the heaviest material he's ever done in a long time. Maybe the heaviest in general. This is really some heavy fucking material. Maybe since Speak English or Die from Stormtroopers of Death. Goddamn, there's just so many good songs. Again, I love fucking Sudden Death. I love Glutton for Punishment. I love Anarchy Up Uranus. I love Raping Your Mind. Even I dig Bungle Grind. There's just so many good tracks on here for me. I think this is an absolute strong album from these guys. I don't know whether or not that this is going to make me a fan of Mr. Bungle, but it's definitely, for sure, it's definitely made me a fan of this album, and I'm going to be satisfied listening to this for a long time. Definitely, I think this is definitely one of the best thrash metal albums. And personally, in my opinion, I think it's a good fucking thrash metal album, so I went on for quite a bit. This is a good album, just plenty of just great material on here for me. I don't care how immature. Again, if you're going to recapture the glory days of thrash metal, you kind of have to do that. You kind of have to. So, you kind of have to basically be as authentic with the past as much as possible. So, there you go. There is my review for the Raging Wrath of the Easter Bunny demo, and my rating. It's a 9.95 out of 10. It's a 9.95. I think this is a solid thrash metal album. So, I could definitely have to end this video real quick because my battery might end up being going out on me real quick. It's going to die on me. So with that, this is a solid thrash metal album. I just enjoy this. If you hadn't haven't been able to tell from my how I am sounding, from my emotions through this review, then I don't know how else I can tell you how much I love this album. This is fantastic. I have to thank my brother for giving me a copy of this album, for getting me a copy. I can't thank you enough. This is great. If you haven't heard this album, if you're a fan of thrash metal and you definitely like Dave Lombardo and Scott Ian, be quite honest, I don't know what else you can do. I don't know. Obviously, I think I can't really say if they're gonna be disappointed with this. Because I think anybody who's a fan of thrash metal, I don't know. There's just something about this album that I can't see any fan of thrash metal not liking. If it's because of the lyrics, it can be understandable. But if it's because of the riffs, why? There's some fucking great thrash metal riffs on this album. There's some great playing. It's a tight thrash metal album in 2020. That's all I gotta say. There's been plenty of great thrash metal albums this year. So that's all I gotta say. But if you have heard this album, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. So with that, thank you. Hope y'all enjoyed. And this is for Heavy Thrasher Sam. I'm out. See y'all later. Take care, everyone.